Decoupaging for Christmas. I'm so excited to show you 3 fun decoupage projects. Thank you for watching. My name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and let's get started with craft number 1. For this craft, we're going to start out with a wood round from the Dollar Tree. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the hanger from this round. Once we've done that, we will go ahead and put our round piece of wood on a paintable surface. And using antique wax from Waverly, we're going to stain this round. And if you haven't done this in the past, I usually paint the whole entire round and then use a baby wipe or paper towel to wipe off any excess paint. And once our round is completely dry, I'm going to grab some Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and I'm going to lightly dry brush on the top side of this round. And it doesn't need to be perfect because you do want a little bit of that wood to show through, but I do want the center of the round to be a thicker coat and then the outside edge more where the wood is showing through. So you can kind of see how I did that here. And once our white paint is completely dry, we'll grab some Mod Podge and matte, and we're just going to add the Mod Podge right onto the round, and we'll paint a nice thick coat over the top. And using my heat tool, I give it a quick start to drying, and then we'll set this aside while we prep our rice paper. So I got this rice paper on Crafty Lure, and this piece of paper was about $2, and you can use it for 2 different crafts. And I'm going to use some water here, and we'll use a paintbrush, and we're just going to paint a circle around this cute little house. And this, once we've gotten that water soaked into the rice paper, we'll just slightly tear it so you get that nice rough edge around our paper. So this month I'm co-hosting a collaboration called Everything Merry with 6 Kids and a Glue Gun, Rebecca Virginia DIYs. Their links are listed down below in the description box, as well as the playlist with talented creators. Please check them out and give them some love. Thank you! So now that we've finished prepping our rice paper, I use my heat tool and it makes sure that our rice paper is completely dry before we add it to our round. And for our next step here, after we've placed our rice paper on the round where we would like it, I use a piece of parchment paper and a hot iron, and you don't need it on a very high setting. You can put it on a fairly low setting. You don't want steam. And you're just going to iron that piece of rice paper down onto that round. And before you place that rice paper on the round, make sure you have it going the right direction and your hanger holes are still at the top. Next, I grab my zip sander and I go ahead and I just sand in a downward motion the rice paper off of the round. Now, keeping this round on that paintable surface, I'm going to grab my Mod Podge again, and we're going to paint a light coat of Mod Podge over the top just to seal everything in. And once everything is completely dry, I grab a thin paintbrush, and using the back side of it, I poke the holes through for the hanger. Next, as you probably guessed, we're going to add that hanger right back to our round. Could stop there, but I think this needed an embellishment and I wanted to add a ribbon to the top. So I'm using some ribbon that I got from Walmart, and this is some wired ribbon that I found in the Christmas section, and it's a really deep burgundy color. And we're going to just go ahead and make 6 loops, 3 on each side, and squish that together. And using a pipe cleaner, we'll go ahead and wrap that around the center of our bow. And this pipe cleaner makes it really easy to just wrap that around. And once we've done doing that, I go ahead and I'm going to just cut my tails, and I like to dovetail them. So you'll see me doing that here in the video. Now, with the cute reindeers in our round sign, I wanted to use this reindeer ribbon that I found at Walmart as well. So I'm just going to loop a little bow onto the top of this big bow. So I just made the motions of a bow, and I just used that pipe cleaner and I just added it to the bow. Nothing fancy, it didn't even tie anything. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut my tails again. Center of this bow, I decided to put a ornament, and this ornament I got at Dollar Tree, I believe, and it was in one of those 6 packs where you got 6 ornaments for $1.25, and I just glued that right to the center of my bow. But with the more matted look of my sign, this bow was very bright. So I'm taking some spray paint, and I took this bow outside and I just quickly spray painted a little bit of spray paint over the top just to matte down the color of our bow. I needed to set that aside to dry for about a half an hour. Once we had a completely dry ribbon, I was able to go ahead and use some hot glue and hot glue it to the top of our sign. And now our fabulous sign is ready to hang. I love how this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Craft number 2. So for this craft, we're going to use some letters that I got from Walmart, a board that I got from Walmart, and then some napkins that I got at the Dollar Tree. And we're going to start by putting our letters on a paintable surface. And I'm using my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And we're going to give these a nice coat of paint. Just wanted to say thank you for everybody out there that has already subscribed to my channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please think about subscribing down below. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. So once all of the paint has dried, I'm grabbing some Mod Podge and I'm going to just paint a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of all of these letters. And now that our letters have completely dried, we're going to grab our napkin. And the first thing I'm going to do is separate the napkin from the bottom layer. And to do this, I use a piece of painter's tape to help me pull the top layer of the napkin off. And these ones I believe are 2-ply, so I was only able to pull off 1 layer underneath. And next we're going to lay the napkin over the top of the letters. What you didn't see me do earlier is I actually used some painter's tape on those letters, and I taped those letters down to that piece of cardboard so that they wouldn't move around when I was painting them. So now I'm taking a piece of parchment paper and I laid that over the top of the napkin. And I'm using a hot iron, and I'm just going to iron that napkin onto those letters. And that decoupage or that Mod Podge is going to go ahead and warm up, so that way it will allow the napkin to stick to these letters. And next I grabbed a razor blade and I just cut the letters so that way I could individually sand each letter down. One thing to remember when you're sanding is to make sure you sand in a downward motion. It helps with tearing the paper off easier, and it leaves a nice edge when you do it that way. And I'm using a zip sander, but you can also use a sanding block or whatever you have around at home. And now for the areas that I can't sand easily, I'm going to use a razor blade just to cut the napkin. And once we have everything sanded down, I'm going to leave the tape on the back side of those letters still so that I can go ahead and paint some more Mod Podge over the top of the letters to seal everything in. And once we're done with the Mod Podge, I like to use my heat tool to give it a little bit of a head start for drying, and then I let it air dry to the side. So I found this wood plank at Walmart, and they are not that bad in price. They're like $4. And it's already ready to go. So I love that it's just an easy plank that you can buy to make some fun signs with. So before we start gluing our sign together, I like to lay out the letters first and make sure I like the spacing. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue each letter on individually. And to do this, I'm going to use some wood glue. And this wood glue I did get at Dollar Tree. And I'm also using some hot glue. And I like this technique when making signs because the hot glue will dry a little bit quicker and it allows time for that wood glue to really soak in and adhere to the sign. And now that we have our letters attached, we could stop here, but I wanted to add one little embellishment. And I found this ribbon at Walmart in the Christmas section, and it has pretty snowflakes on it. So I thought this went well with the decoupage we did with the napkins. So I went ahead and made a nice cute bow and hot glued that to the top corner. And I love how this joy sign turns out. It's beautiful and it's ready to hang or give as a gift. Craft number 3. So for this craft, we're going to use one of those ornaments from the Dollar Tree, preferably the one that's already white, and then a paper napkin. And this paper napkin I did get on Amazon, so I have it linked in my store below in the description box. So we're going to start out by going ahead and removing the bottom 2 layers of the napkin. And next we're going to cut the flowers out in the napkin pattern. So I'm just going to cut around different stems in the napkin, and each of these little pieces are going to be different sizes. So it doesn't matter how you decide to cut them out, so just cut them out however you see fit. And after I cut out the first napkin, I decided to start with the second napkin and do the same thing because I feel like I'm going to need all of these little pieces to cover our little ornament. And that is 2 napkins worth of flowers. And next we're going to go ahead and prep our ornament. And so the best thing to do here is to find a way to stand this up so it's easier to move around. And I found using painter's tape and taking that top piece off made it really easy. Next I grabbed some Mod Podge, and we're just going to Mod Podge a little bit on the ornament. So not the full thing, just a little section. And then we're going to place one of the pieces of the napkin over the top where you put the Mod Podge. And using our brush, we're just going to brush some more Mod Podge over that top of the napkin. And it just kind of press down and smooth it out. I found that using a little bit larger paintbrush was very useful in this step. Now we're just going to continue doing this until we cover the entire napkin. So using some Mod Podge, painting a layer of Mod Podge, and then adding the piece of napkin, and then painting over the napkin. And I try not to overlap too much with the other napkins because I want that print to show up all over this cute ornament. And once we get to the top of the ornament, I did have to take that off of the piece of tape that I had everything on, and I just held it so that I could Mod Podge on top. And once I completed that, I set that back on the piece of tape to allow it to dry. And it did take about 30 minutes for that to completely dry. And next we'll add the little hook right back onto our ornament. And this is turning out so cute. Now for our hook, I'm going to use some sheer ribbon. And this is 1/4 inch sheer ribbon I got at the fabric store. And I'm just going to string that through our hook and just tie a nice little knot, which will make a nice hanger for the Christmas tree. But to finish this off, I wanted to put another bow in there as well. So I just tied another ribbon into the same hook so we didn't have to use any hot glue or anything, and tied a quick little bow on our ornament. And I just love how this turns out. This is such a fun craft that you can do on your own, but also would work really well for a Christmas craft party. You could have everybody bring different napkins and you guys could make ornaments together. For more Christmas fun, please check out the video above. Thank you for watching. Please remember, craft more, stress less.